Rev up your engines!
Well, Kia's at it again with lack of quality. They're recalling 70,000 vehicles because they might start on fire. Yes. And it's crazy. The trailer hitch may not be hooked up right, and so it can start on fire. So they're telling these people, hey, park outside so if it burns down, it won't take your house and garage with it. These are 2016 to 2023 Kia Sorentos they're recalling. If you're worried, get your VIN number, go to the National Highway Traffic Safety Association.gov website, and you can put in your VIN, see if yours is under the recall. Now, this is an expansion of a previous recall. Kia Telluride SUVs were recalled in the past for the same problem. See, this is the thing that breaks me up. They fight it tooth and nail, right? I remember years ago, Honda had a problem with one of their transmissions. They used the same transmission in various of their vehicles, but they only recalled ones that were in their Accords. They didn't recall the Preludes, even though they had the same transmission. I mean, they just want to hide it. They don't want people to know, and they fight it tooth and nail so they don't have to fix stuff for free. And not only was it the Kia Tellurides, but in the past, they had to recall 245,000 Hyundai Palisade SUVs for the same reason. They might start on fire. It just amazes me the lack of quality control Kia. Everybody says, oh, Scotty, you don't know what you're talking about. They make them better. No, they don't. They're still making them crappy. They're still having problems all the time. Engines blowing up. Transmission's not working right. They aren't that well made. They just aren't. And they keep showing that. They keep having problems. They hide it. Oh, it's only this model that starts on fire. Now it's another 40,000. Oh, now it's another 50,000. You can't believe a word they say. Now, here's why you have to take everything kind of with a grain of salt. I was just reading an English article, and they rated the best and worst vehicles. Some of it made total sense, and some of it was totally absurd. To give you an example, they rated Lexus as the most dependable car in England. Makes sense. Number 2 was Toyota. That makes sense too. But number 3 was Mini. Well, it's an English company. They make them in England. Who's to know what to believe or not? But at the same time, the same company in England said that Land Rover was the second worst vehicle to buy. They made Jeeps even worse, but it was still number 2 on the list of worst vehicles to buy. They're kind of dishing one of their vehicles, a Land Rover, but they're saying the Minis are great. You really have to take all this stuff with a grain of salt. Who knows what ulterior motives these writers have? Maybe Mini paid them some money. I don't know. Land Rover maybe didn't pay them any money. I mean, I'd rate them both as bad vehicles, but, they rated the Land Rover as a real bad one, but then they said the Mini was the third best. So you always have to take these things with a grain of salt if you're reading articles that people put out there. Who knows? I'm a mechanic. I work on them. I know what breaks. I know what doesn't break. I always laugh when you see J.D. Power or somebody rating Chrysler's top vehicles, right? And everybody knows they aren't. You got to find a guy like me who knows about cars. If you got a mechanic that you trust and he really tells you the truth, ask him. He can tell you what cars are good and what cars are bad. Not take any nonsense about, oh, well, this one's really good when it's a horrible car. But then spice it in like the English did, where they said Lexus are the best ones. Yeah, that makes sense, right? But then they sneak a Mini in, so you never know about these lists. I find them hilarious sometimes. Now, if you're going to buy an electric car, especially a Tesla, you better check out your insurance company first, because there was a Tesla owner in Phoenix, Arizona. Their insurance company would not let a shop fix the car. They said that Geico wasn't willing to fix the car at that particular shop. I guess they thought they were overcharging him. I don't know. It was only $2,100. That isn't much. Here is what you have to understand. In the regular car business of just regular cars we've been driving for gasoline, whatever, you got an insurance company. They generally will make you go to different places to get quotes. They'll have their own place that you send it to. In the area that this guy was at, there was only one shop that was Tesla approved to do body work, right? And Geico didn't like them, I guess. So what's the guy going to do? Fix it himself? He's still waiting. The last I read, he's still waiting to get it fixed because they said they're not going to pay for it. You get in a wreck. Is your insurance company going to pay the rates that those people are charging? Because there isn't a competition. There's only a certain amount of people that work on electric cars. Something that I do have to say because I've seen it in the past myself. Body shops are body shops. They fix body, right? Well, you got an electric car. It's all electrified. There's so much damage that can be done to the electrical system if they get in a wreck. Guys in the body shops, they don't know what they're doing with that half the time. It's going to be hard to find anybody who's going to do good work on an electric car. You get it back, and then a lot of stuff may not work. It's beyond the level of their technology, and they might not even know a shop that works on electric cars, the mechanical and electrical parts. They just do the body work. So think about that before you buy an electric car. You get in a wreck. You may be in big trouble like the guy in Phoenix where insurance company's not not paying to fix it because they're arguing over who's qualified, who isn't, over what the price is. There isn't the competition out there for fixing electric cars like there is for regular cars. And there probably won't be for quite some time. Too much money to learn. Tools you have to buy to work on electrical vehicles. The training, and it's dangerous. You can be electrified. Of course, you never think, well, I'm not going to get in a wreck. The odds are if you drive for 20 years in the United States, your car's going to be in a wreck. That's just how it goes. That's how many cars are wrecked every year. And if you're going to have a hassle getting your car fixed when it's wrecked, do a little research about that before you buy an electric car in your area. You might find there's nobody that works on the things. You get in a wreck, you're SOL without a car on the side of the road that's smashed up and nobody's going to fix the thing, or your insurance company is not going to pay for it. Nesmuck said, what about Florida flood cars? Lots of vehicles have flood damage. Now, some cars do better than others with flood damage, like electric cars. What do you think? Very good question. Well, of course, electric cars and hybrid cars get damaged more because they have a lot more electrical systems. And in the case of the recent hurricane in Florida, that's salt water, baby. Salt water shorts out electronics like no tomorrow. I saw that in Houston, Galveston, when they had floods. Those cars were just absolutely destroyed. There was a racetrack. Of course, nobody uses racetracks much anymore. And the guy rented it out to the insurance companies, and they parked thousands and thousands of cars there. Then the adjusters came, and they totaled them all, crushed them. They didn't allow them to be sold to anybody. You don't want a car that's flooded in salt water. Any car is going to be destroyed eventually. But the electric cars are going to be worse because salt water conducts electricity better, so it will short it all out. It will eat all the connectors. Back in the day when I was young, cars had carburetors. They didn't have too much electronics. If a car got flooded, there wasn't that much that was gone electronically, so you could actually fix the car as long as somebody didn't try starting it, suck water in and destroy the engine from the water, crushing the pistons. A lot of modern cars, even the non-hybrid, non-electric, have so many computer parts. Once that salt water gets in, if it gets up to the dash, forget it. The car's useless. Somebody might get it running again. I know a guy in Houston that bought like 8 Hurricane Sandy cars, went all the way to Jersey, brought them, and then rinsed all the water out, and then he was kind of a scumbag. He sold them to people. And I said to the guy, the liabilities, they'll come after you. He says, oh, my name's not on any of those titles. I'm using friends. We're retitling it, and it won't be traceable to me, so I don't care. And the guy was a real scumbag. But you never want to buy a car that was saltwater flooded. Never, ever. It's a big mistake. Hello334 says, my car's idling rough after I replaced the battery. I got a 2003 Toyota Camry. It's idling weird. Help. They do that because when you take the battery out and you put another battery in, that resets the factory. It's got to relearn the idle. Now, if you just drive it for a few days, it'll probably go right back to normal. But if you don't want to do that, here's what you do on any of the Toyotas when you change the battery. Put a new battery in, start the car up, have everything turned off, no AC, no lights, no anything, sit in the driveway, and rev it up to about 2,000 RPM and sit there for 5 minutes. Turn the AC on full blast and the headlights. Again, rev it up to 2,000 RPM for 5 minutes. Drive the car around after that. It'll probably auto perfectly fine then. That's a good way to reset it. It learns, and then as you drive, it gets used to your driving, and it'll make it even better. But most Toyotas will do that. They'll idle a little bit funky. A lot of cars will idle a little bit funky when you change the battery. And some of them, you actually have to pay a guy like me with a fancy scan tool to reset the idle. It's called idle relearn, and it has to be done by a mechanic with a fancy machine, because those particular manufacturers are kind of scumbags, and they want to take it into them, change the battery, it doesn't run right. Now they got to do this, they're going to charge me a bunch of money, and they will. That's one thing about Toyotas. They'll relearn themselves. You don't have to hook a machine up to them to make them run right. Leroy says, my engine surges when I drive. I got a 2016 Honda Pilot. When I drive at low to medium speeds, the foot held constantly, the engine surges 400 to 600 RPM. Dealer says, they don't know what's wrong. There's no codes. Could it be the variable timing control actuator? Well, it could be a whole bunch of things. The dealer's being a scumbag. Oh, there's no codes. If you want to find that out, it's a weird problem. They have to get your car, hook up their fancy scan tool, push it on record, drive it until it surges. Then they look at the recorded data. There are hundreds of bits of data to analyze. They should be able to figure out what's wrong. But obviously, they're too lazy to do this. They don't care, and they say, there's no codes. We don't know what's wrong. That's the problem. They don't pay the mechanics that much anymore. It's a flat rate system. If they don't have any jobs, they don't pay them anything. In my grandfather's day, it was 50 cents an hour labor at a dealer. He got 25 cents as a mechanic, and the dealership made 25. Now they might charge 150, and they might pay a guy $18 an hour, but they're charging $150 an hour. So that just shows you where the money goes, to the owner, not to the mechanics who are doing the work. So consequently, they get many lower quality mechanics working there than they used to because they don't pay enough money. We live in a capitalist society. You don't pay somebody, they're not going to work for such cheap pay, right? Then the dealer just says, we know what's wrong. There's no code. Nonsense. They need to test the whole way. If you can find a guy like me in your area to test it, do it. It could be dozens of different things causing it. You need the data. And a simple road test, when it acts up, go on a road test with them. Say, I'm going on a road test. I'll show you. Then it's surgeon. They can see it. They'll record the data. And anybody who's good can analyze. Like I say, dealers, they don't really care that much anymore. But you find a good mechanic like me that's into that stuff, we'll run it, we'll look at the data, and we'll figure out what's wrong. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.